So there's the whole process of awakening. It's some overt, basically some obvious event, visual, or so a transfer of information through the grid system that nobody will, be able to deny. If we can pass books around and stuff like that, it can reach, millions of people. They have tech systems that can literally deliver like a PA system broadcast, which, and this explanation is used for good, for telling people the truth about how much has gone on, in the sense that, they know who to trust, at least, to not kind of, I don't know, not to not let the system destroy itself for us. And so then there's this base system, and then there's like this automated defense force that arises when there's either on any planet or in any environment or whatever it is, or just Earth, maybe somebody built it there or here, that arises when consciousness and the collective consciousness unifies enough, so it's as if the planet has like an eyeball or something, like it's awakened, it's there, and there's enough people thinking on the same level to be said that they're carrying out a collective vibe. And up until the projected point of the projections, now the secret groups are in the control of that by piggybacking their information and their mind on the minds of the collective, masses, and having their secret networks basically run, the reality here. And that's the biggest secret, whether a distraction or not, that they figured out how to run realities, and that this one's been going on for an extended amount of time, and men have been coming in and out of the doorways, or, whatever it is, and living for a very long time. If cloning is real, we have to understand there's a possibility that in the 40s, when it began, people, began living for a long time, or forever, however you want to put it, but that this might be an entirely different run of history that they've been connected to. And we don't really know what kind of other aspects. We don't really know what they've seen, what other experiences or civilizations they've taken part in, or possibly dominated over or ruined. And in that sense, this system, if they figured out, here's like a big secret. Here's an idea. What if they figure that out, how to clone people, and it's to the point where this isn't even the same rung of history that they began that, and we've actually gone over many cycles, and they've been cloning everyone else with them, and it's essentially making everyone immortal, and that's why we have a soul on another level that never dies, and so on and so forth. And it's, everybody's complaining about this, that, and the other, and you look back and, well, so imagine that happening, and then they've been doing this charade to keep this society running, because history becomes planned out, event by event, or maybe they've seen it before, and entire timelines are just a play that goes on for thousands of years. And, and they make everyone immortal so that they can rule over them forever. And like, what if, and then escape from the system is like escaping from this database that has, our genetic material, which might be what we look at as the universe itself, or, maybe a more specific system, and it's run literally by companies that own Earth as, from their point of view, a simulation. But that could be a deception in itself. But what if it's possible? If it is possible, they did it, because they did everything. Everything, happened. Nothing's, new under the sun. It's because it's repeat. And if that was happening, though, then people could vacate the system or try to kind of guide it towards something positive. The abundantly overall conclusion, which could be deception, was that everyone's abandoning the system. But that could be a deception to get people to go into the virtual, containment devices built in this universe, so that the whole thing can start all over again. Then imagine the people that would wake up in that system and form together a coalition to realize this isn't fucking real, and try and break out. But weird stuff like that. But yeah, so there's like some automated system that clicks on when there's that level of, percentage races enough. You could imagine if, a person who has heightened sense and awareness, and maybe you feel their energy, and so what if somebody's like possibly glowing, or you see, a force coming off of them, or you can feel it. So then, hundreds of millions of people doing it, or I think like dozens of millions or something, at like a few percent or something like that. I don't even know. Uh, would apparently produce enough of whatever this force is that activates these like dormant systems, which are energetic, like scalar defense systems, that it would be as if it turns on. And scalar just means that it's a computer system that can link with your mind without having to touch you. Because the point is, you would need a grid system set up for Wi-Fi or triangulation, GPS, whatever it is. But the Earth itself is one big, whether it's round or, circular, it's one big dish, if you want to look at it that way, satellite dish. And it's emitting all these waves, and these also might be, for instance, ghosts, or more so, interdimensional interference can, and if the ghost is like a form of maybe like a snippet of somebody's consciousness stuck in a time loop. And it's just a hologram version of it. So you could look at it, and that's how it's kind of like proven, like, it's not real, right? It is, but it's a partially virtual environment without us, because if you ever run into something like that, or certain areas, or programmed beings, it looks real, but if you really break it down, it's just like an automaton running on repeat. And, programming interdimensional beings, it has a lot to do with that. But, and so then, I distracted myself again, but so they show interference through radio systems. Tesla figured out a lot of stuff with that, all these like spooky devices and whatever, which I don't much about that, but apparently you can get a system to view them, and it flashes at a certain frequency that's just out of our perception range, and it also makes it appear like an eerie strobing effect, as if it's like scary, but it's really not. It's just a confusion of two worlds parallel to each other because our universe got smushed together too close because some event or some issue. But the idea is it would be as if the scalar system sets up, and what you think with your mind, given the amount of energy you have relative in this environment, the strength of your mind relative to others, you have your own collective mind, basically. You have your own access to the collective mind, like the power of God. And then, you could form energy in front of you or whatever it is. And so if people needed to defend themselves, whatever, like if somebody feared because somebody was like running towards them and they were afraid, and maybe they had a little bit of autonomous response or training or something like that, it would deflect whatever was coming at them with, like an energy emission. It would like knock the person over or spin them aside or something just on impulse. If they didn't, completely just curl up. And so it's like an automatic system. And then those without control would go, bonkers, try and raise hell. But that's the point of the program, I'll just say, along with everything else that's gathered into, blanket description of the program. But there's a program for contingency for if that happens. Because it would be like supervillains, from the movies being all of a sudden just like transformed in out of nowhere. It would also be like enlightened gurus or like actual gurus instead of like, guys, I'm real enlightened, I'm gonna make this video. Not like people flying through the fucking sky and walking through walls and shit and melting themselves into plasma and like going into different dimensions. And obviously they're just gonna do that. They're not gonna sit here and BS about it. Or they could, and society would go one way, but it could be, corruption has to be brought out, and the only way it's going to happen is if the temp basically gets increased spiritually until everybody's looking, because that's when the heat goes up. But and as well, that system, if it comes online, apparently may literally be this big event or whatever it is that everyone's talking about, that some people in certain programs with temporal viewing have seen, and so on and so forth. Just to say. Isn't it good that I recorded that so that I don't have to sit there and try and write it out?